Let's say, for instance, you're a business owner and you have all of this debt tied up wherever. Let's just assume it's on the personal side because you've been focusing more on making money versus segregating things or putting your finances or your balances here on the business and leaving the personal by itself. That's typically the case of what we see with clients. They commingle everything, which is fine. That's just what the reality is. So in this example, let's say you owe about $40,000 on personal credit cards. Now, if you really look closely on your statements, you're at about 30%, 28 to 32% interest on those credit cards compounding every month. It's a hole that's very, very hard to get out of, especially when you're not getting a high amount of injection of cash on a daily basis. So if your personal credit's tied up, and let's assume you're at a 640 with all of that debt, but you have cash deposits on your checking account on the business side, the MCA company will go ahead and deposit about 25% more or less of what your monthly deposits are. And then you get prepayment incentives. So merchant cash advances are not, in my estimation, the solution. They're part of the solution. So if you're able to go ahead and pay these things, the merchant cash advance within 90 days, you get prepayment incentives. So instead of you being, let's say, at whatever their factor rate is, which in reality is interest, instead of you being at 35% or sometimes even 40%, which is what they charge, they got you out of an immediate situation that you're in, that you're able to lift the cap space in this example on the personal credit cards. But more than that, if you are able to line up your profile properly, and then now that injection of capital has lowered the personal credit card balances down, now you're funding eligible. So now you can go with the traditional tier one banks like the Chases, Amex, or Wells Fargo, Bank of Americas of the world. And then now when you get the traditional business funding, now you can do what? Pay back the MCA, Merchant Cash Advance Company, within that parameter of 90 days. And now your prepayment incentives are exponentially greater. So now you effectively have gotten two different sources of funding, and now you're walking around with a better credit score than you ever had before, and you have business funding, and you had a paid off, and at this point you have a paid off MCA, which if you need to go to the well again, they're going to give you more multipliers of what you had gotten previously. So